Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. And as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
That's right. My name is Mike Piroworski, coming to you live from the East Coast. It's the coast with the most from the co-host with the most here on The Rundown. 2A Views, conservative news, and Craig, guess what day it is?
Oh, that's right. It's that day.
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
It's hump day.
Hump day!
It's hump day.
Hump day!
That's right, folks. Today is Hump Day. This is the day in which we attempt to begin the weekend, sometimes with success, sometimes not. But the best part is all in the trying. And Mike, given the news today, how is the starting of the weekend going?
I think it's poetic that it's Hump Day. I think we just reached a huge hump that we're about to go over here in the peacefulness in this country.
Oh, most definitely. I'm sure that I'm probably, for folks who are watching the show, I'm sure the news that we're going to think, the only thing we're going to be talking about today is not necessarily going to be news to you, but hopefully we can bring some perspective and some insight that will be unique to this conversation. But I'm sure that we will not be the only ones that will be having these sorts of conversations and whatnot. So let's get right into it. Let's go ahead and get started and start off with a quick shout out to our sponsors.
Yeah, I was actually on the way over to our friends at Hitman Industries today when the news broke, and I didn't go there. But let's say hi to our friends at Hitman Industries. That's hitmanindustries.net. You can get barrels any caliber, any length you desire for your next AR build, or rebarrel your current AR platform. That's hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can take part in California's future today. Listen, if you're not carrying, you need to be carrying. I think examples around the world today show that. So get on over to Hog Holsters. That's HAWG Hog Holsters. Get the best in tactical concealed holsters on the market. Use the discount code The Rundown. That's all one word, no spaces, all caps. Get yourself a discount. And if you need some survival gear, tactical gear, individual gear, law enforcement, whatever it may be, security, fire, EMS, get your group together, get your agency together, place an order over at uscombatgear.com, where you can get everything except the gun.
That's right, folks. These are our sponsors. They bring us to you so that we can bring you to them. Do us a favor, do them a favor, do yourself a favor. Visit their websites, go there, check them out, spend some money with them. Tell them it was the guys over at The Rundown that sent you. Now, if you're watching this show live, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, or anywhere it's amidst and between there in the continental United States, we're taking your comments live. We're recording this live right now. Go ahead, let us know what's up. Let us know what you think about what we're talking about. Let us know what you think about the show. Just maybe give us a shout out, and especially on today, we'd love to hear your thoughts about what we're talking about. Go ahead and let us know what you think. We would love to hear from you. All right, we're going to jump right into it. We're just going to make it real simple. For those of you who know who Charlie Kirk is, he is. There are a few people that will be more influential on this generation, in particular, the next generation, the millennials and the Gen Zers, than has been or will be Charlie Kirk. He is the founder of Turning Point USA, an organization that he created starting at just the young age of 18 years old. He started it in order to combat the narrative, the anti-American narrative that was being portrayed largely in high schools and on college campuses. Never went to a university, but that does not mean that he was uneducated. He would go from campus to campus and would debate folks. He had this thing that was called Change My Mind, and he would give you an opportunity to debate with him on various different political issues and share your perspective and give you an opportunity to change his mind. And there were a few people who were as learned on American values and principles as Charlie Kirk. Well, he was engaged in just such an exchange in Utah when he was shot and killed by an attendee of the event there. and I'll go ahead and I'll just read a little bit from the piece that's put out by the folks over at the New York Post, rather than just give you my perspective on it. It says here, Charlie Kirk fatally shot at Utah Valley University during his American Comeback Tour. Charlie Kirk was shot and killed by an assassin while on stage during a stop at Utah Valley University, kicking off his American Comeback Tour Wednesday, just as he answered a question from an audience member about mass shootings committed by transgender people. The shooter remains. Oh, this is no longer true. The shooter is no longer on the loose. But anyway, sources told the Post, despite conflicting reports, that an arrest had been made. Video was circulating on social media showing an older man being hauled away by police. So maybe or maybe not. I hear that he has been apprehended. In any case,
I've not heard that. Greg, the info I had was that they had arrested someone and everybody assumed it was the shooter, and it was not.
Okay. Well, that is actually good to know. It says, even before Kirk's death was confirmed, President Trump somberly spoke of him in the past tense, telling the Post he's not doing well. Yes, it looks very bad. Adding that he was feeling not good about the shooting. Now, Mike, I've watched the video online, and we've decided not to replay the video. There's a couple of videos circulating. One is from a distance, and the other one is relatively close up. And when you see the one that's relatively close up, there was no doubt in my mind that had he survived that, it would have taken nothing less than a miracle of God for him to have survived it.
Yeah, just again confirming as of the last 15 minutes, the gunman's still at large. Yeah, Craig, I watched the video. I think you and I watched the video, and having been in military and law enforcement for many, many years, it was. I'm not going to go into it at all, but it was a fatally delivered shot. He was murdered in cold blood there on stage in front of 2,000 attendees.
I don't even know what to say, and I've already done a radio interview. I've already done a television interview, and one of the things that I wanted to make clear to folks was, starting off, that Charlie Kirk was not just a conservative hero. He was an American hero. He was an individual who didn't just believe in conservative values. He believed in American values, and his passion in life was making sure that America retook or re-understood, or that those values were reinvigorated in our public discourse once again. And he also recognized the importance of making sure that if it's going to happen anywhere, it's going to happen with our youth.
Yeah, what most impressed me about him, Craig, was not just with what you said. That his knowledge and his values. It's that he went into the Viper's Pit. He went to the college campuses. He went to the high schools. In fact, I think the count was over 3,500 at this point that he'd visited over the past. Since he created the organization.
Way more than 3,500. There's actually 3,500 chapters of his organization started at high schools and campuses across the country. So, and once again, there were tons of campuses where he went to they didn't have a chapter, but he actually went and visited.
Okay, so he would, listen. You and I know this. It's the reason we have this program, and we do the other things we do is because the viewpoints of the conservatives, the viewpoints of the right are suppressed, and Charlie would go into these places and fight the liberal media dialogue. They would, here's what we want you to believe. So here it is. And here's the facts. And all these kids have, the youth have from today is the sound bites, right? They got the sound bites and the clickbait, whether it be, on the phone or on the internet, X and, Twitter and everything else. That's all they had. TikTok, Reels. And Charlie would go there and have the discussion with them, go, what's your point of view? And would listen to their point of view and then give them actual facts. Listen, I don't think that Charlie turned 100% of the people, to his way of thinking, but I bet you he made close to 100% of the people start thinking about the decisions they were making and start realizing that just taking for granted what the left says as the word of God is not true. And he went in there and started to take back those colleges and universities. Now, you and I are old enough to know we saw colleges and universities when we were kids being a Democrat hotbed. The anti-government, no nukes, anti-war kind of place. And then as you and I were going to college, Craig, we just luckily timed into it right. They were, the hotbed of conservatism, during the Reagan years and Bush years, George H.W. And then started to switch back with the plan of the left, right? We've seen this from Eric Holder. We've seen this from former President Obama, that was their goal, was to turn those youth into their backings through brainwashing. And that's exactly what Eric Holder said. Go ahead, feel free to look it up.
Yeah, the thing about Charlie Kirk was, once again, he understood both young people and what it would take to influence them, but he also understood basic logic and understanding and critical thinking. And so he would use what's called the Socratic method in order to debate people. And I was really giving them the opportunity. It's basically what Socratic method is. By asking questions, you give them enough rope to hang themselves. In other words, you help people to better understand their positions by answering questions, right? To helping them walk the path. So you're not walking the path for them. You're helping them to walk the path to understand, if in some cases, the fallacy of the position that they have, but also to better understand your position. And I think you would agree with me, his goal wasn't necessarily to change people's minds. It was to help people develop understanding. And when you developed an understanding, I understand why you believe what you believe, and you understand why I believe what I believe. Now, if you still want to walk around and believe what you believe based on the same information and facts, you have every right to do that. Yeah. But most people, if they're honest with themselves, they walk away, and they walk away at the very least thinking. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you mentioned that. That's something that was very, very important to him.
It was, and it was working. Listen, he's there's no direct numbers. I don't think he could put an actual number on it, but he brought a large amount of that age group, that 18 to 25, 18 to 29 age group, over to conservatism, to at least opening their eyes to it, which made a difference. We could see in the numbers at the last election. Now, was that all Trump, or was that Trump supporters like Charlie Kirk?
Right. Well, all right. So we have Bob King over on Facebook asked a question. He said, "Do either of you see these types of violent acts escalating to a civil war between the right and the left?" Do I see a potential for it happening? Well, yes, Yes, you can see a potential. I'm hoping that it doesn't, and I believe that it will not, because I think anyone who would like to honor Charlie Kirk will recognize that is not something that he desired. His desire was for whatever war took place, it would be a war of words. It would be in the tradition, in the American tradition of open and public debate, where we would be able to talk about our differences and the best ideas would rise to the top. And I think that there are many who would follow that. I will say this: I have seen on Facebook and on on Twitter, some of the folks, leaders on the left, very responsibly offering their prayers and condolences to Charlie Kirk's family and talking about how they do not condone political violence. It was the bare minimum, mind you, in most cases, but at the very least, you don't see a whole lot of leaders within the Democratic movement stepping up and saying things. Although I will say this, there are people like this one commentator over at MSNBC who's almost, I'll let you comment after. I want to play this clip real quick. Kevin Sona sent it over. I want you to listen to it and tell me if you think he is implying almost that Charlie Kirk almost brought this on himself.
Which then lead to hateful actions. And I think that's the environment we're in, that people just, you can't stop with these sort of awful thoughts you have and then saying these awful words and not expect awful actions to take place.
Matt.
And that's the unfortunate environment we're in.
Turning Point News.
I don't know how talking about the Constitution and the law is awful words and awful actions, Craig. This is. I mean, that's just more victim blaming, right? Oh, it's Charlie Kirk's fault that he got shot. Okay, all right. It's also Martin Luther King's fault that he got shot, I guess.
Well, here's the thing: is ultimately, and this is what I say, and this is the difference between the right and the left. What people are responding to when they talk about that is they're talking about people had very emotional reactions to the things that Charlie Kirk said. The things that Charlie Kirk said were factual, they were truthful, and sometimes the truth hurts. Sometimes the truth offends, and people were offended with him sharing the truth. Not just his opinion, mind you. When he would share facts about history, when he would share statistical data relating to a myriad of issues, what offended people, the thing was people got offended because the facts, the truth, offended them. Now, what the left does, when I talk about the left and their rhetoric being responsive, their violent rhetoric, when you offer an opinion like, "Oh well, Donald Trump is the next Hitler," Charlie Kirk wants to kill all transgender people. When you offer things like that, when you say things like that, those are not truths. Those are opinions and lies. And they're the sorts of opinions and lies that lead people to start to think, well, gosh, if Charlie Kirk is the next Hitler, if the Turning Point USA kids are like the Hitler Youth, well, then the best thing I can do is to take out the next Hitler. Now, most Democrats don't think that way. But you got people who are far out there. You have people who have been who are not necessarily mentally all there, and we got them on the right too. They've been operating in this silo where all they hear is this hate. He's going to lock up journalists. He's going to lock up homosexuals and disappear them. When all that is that they hear, you're going to get a certain number of people who are going to say, well, then I guess this calls for violence. And all I have to say is this. All you have to do is look. We've had 2 shooters go after Christian schools. We've had 2 shooters go after the President of the United States. You now have this incident with Charlie Kirk. You had the guy with the gun and the knife who went after Brett Kavanaugh. You got the guy who went after who shot Steve Scalise. Name one. I mean, the number of incidences of the right engaging in this sort of political violence is infinitesimal. If you wanted to say that January 2nd was on the right, that's all you got. That's it.
The 6th, yeah.
January the 6th. I'm sorry. And by the way, just so you know, the only person who was killed on January the 6th happened to be a Trump supporter. So in other words, Trump supporters didn't kill anybody.
Yeah, unarmed Trump supporter. Yeah. Craig, they have been baiting for a long time. And again, remember they've controlled the media for 20 years now. And they have ever since they started going after George W. Bush after the start of the war, and they took over control of the media when they started lying about him as he ran for election and re-election. It's been their realm, and people believe that, and they believe it, and it's compiled, and it's gotten to the point where the lunatics or the weak believe it and think that, well, I've been called to take action. I watched today as there were some tweets from Newsom, from Kamala Harris, and from Nancy Pelosi saying, violence is not the answer, and yet I think you and I spent 5 minutes and pulled up a dozen or so statements from them calling for violence, get in our face, make our lives miserable on the right. You know, now that something's happened, of course they have to stand back and say, oh, well, you know, no, we have to go with peace. We have to go with peace. Sure. But it's your rhetoric that's brought us to this point. And Craig, at this point, you know, I hope for nothing but peace. But you know, they took out a made guy. Okay, that's what's happened here. They took out a made guy.
Let me
you don't
share.
take out a made guy without there being repercussions.
I'm
not calling for violence at all. I think the answer here, and I think what we're going to see from this administration, and they started talking about it within the past week or two, and everybody calm down for just one moment. There's going to be a slew of mental health orders be coming out of the White House. Be a slew of mental health orders be coming out of the White House. All right, whether it's to mental illness or mental illness caused by prescription medications. You're going to see, because every mass shooting you look at is tied to that, is tied to something with some sort of mental illness or medication they're on. And that's the common denominator there. And I think we're going to see results out of that pretty quickly and pretty soundly in the next year.
Let me share this video that you shared with me, and we'll talk about it on the flip side.
I want to go on Gavin a little bit. Can you show the clip of him saying what he wants them to start doing to Republicans, which I think is a call. It's a call to action. And if he wants to play that game,
which clip is it?
He says punch him in the.
Oh yeah.
Can we show? And guys,
great.
and just and again, I want everybody out there. Remember, when they hit us low, we go high. All that BS that you heard from all these fake ass Democrats. Okay, they're the party of violence. Don't forget that. Okay, these are the people, and this is a call to action because those two people, and Rob's gonna find who they are. This is the type of attitude that they're telling Democrats to have. Rob, go ahead. Yeah. Oh, by the way. Oh, weird. They both have the glasses.
Get out of here.
These are the two people that are in charge of his social media. These are the guys and the girl. They always have dark glasses. I'm on to something. Rob, play the clip with him.
The bow tie also.
Yeah, play the clip.
I don't
with
care
him.
about their looks. Their work is what is terrible.
Yeah, well, the glasses that tell.
Go ahead,
them.
Rob.
Go ahead.
This is
You offended
radical rigging of a midterm election. Radical rigging of an election. Destroying, vandalizing this democracy.
It's not a democracy.
The rule of law. So I'm sorry. I know some people's sensibilities. I respect and appreciate that. But right now, with all due respect, we're walking down a damn different path. We're fighting fire with fire, and we're going to punch these sons of bitches in the mouth.
Okay.
Wow.
So okay.
You know,
so
you can't say that wearing that shirt in that studio.
yeah,
I mean, you just don't look.
Wait, Rob, play that
does
back
not
again,
look
the
like
last
a
part,
guy
what he
that's going to
says.
come down there and pop somebody.
Now, here's something else that you sent over, and this is Kamala Harris in her own words. Instead of unequivocally condemning the violence and civil unrest, then Senator Kamala Harris doubled down on the anti-police rhetoric that fueled much of the ongoing violence across the nation, tacitly justifying the actions of rioters. Harris encouraged Americans by posting a tweet to give money to help bail out looters, rioters, and violent protesters, and caused untold damage in Minneapolis and elsewhere during the unrest of 2020. Quote, if you're able to chip in now to, I'm not even going to say the name of it, to help post bail for those protesting on the ground in Minnesota. Harris referenced BLM riots as a movement, noting that they, referring to protesters, are not going to stop. This is a movement. During a radio interview in June of 2020, Harris praised the defund the police movement, stating the idea that putting more cops on the street makes us safer is wrong. Harris doubled down on this misguided approach to public safety when she said, quote, it is old, tired, wrong status quo thinking to think you get more safety by putting police officers on the streets. In her first solo speech in 2020 as a Democrat vice presidential nominee, Harris vowed to stand with protesters in Kenosha, Wisconsin, stating, quote, we are rightfully angry and exhausted. It's no wonder people are taking to the streets, and I support them. She made the statement within the Kenosha burned when Kenosha was burning on the ground. And then, Mike, I wanted to share this video that I did. I did this video after the president got shot, back during the campaign when he was the nominee. And I want you to specifically listen to some of the things that they were saying about him before the first of two assassination attempts. Democrats, the mainstream media, academia, all the way up to the president of the United States himself, have been comparing Donald Trump to Hitler.
Trump loves Hitler. The dehumanizing rhetoric of Adolf Hitler.
Who I got to vote for in November to keep Hitler out of the White House. That's all I want to know.
This is the guy who says Hitler's done some good things.
People have rightly found similar to the language of Hitler.
Making comments like, you know, if he is elected, it's going to be the end of democracy.
Trump and the extreme MAGA Republicans quote a clear and present danger to our democracy.
Homosexuals and people in the media are going to be disappeared.
I'm going to take all the journalists, I'm going to take all the gay folks, I'm going to move you all around and disappear you. If that's the country you want, you know who to vote for.
That black people are going to be put back in chains.
They're going to put you all back in chains.
You keep continually putting out that sort of rhetoric, somebody is going to latch onto that and act upon it. Now, if we were to hold any of those individuals, including and up to President Biden, to the same standard that his Department of Justice has tried to hold Donald Trump for what occurred on January 6th, well then, one, somebody needs to be impeached, but then number two, perhaps some people need to be brought up on federal charges. And they've said worse since.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, they're the party that's calling for violence. Whereas President Trump says it every day, I want people to stop dying. That's my goal. I want people to stop dying, whether it's in, you know, Gaza or in Minneapolis.
Yeah, no, you're 100% correct. And he has done the best that he can to try and protect people from being killed unnecessarily. Right? And yet, all of that having been said, you still have people on the left who are responding in horrible ways. And here's just some of the tweets that I've seen. And I will give credit the politicos, most of the leaders out there, they have been okay. They've been wishing, you know, prayers and condolences and, you know, they hate political violence, yada, yada, yada. But there are also folks out there like this. This is Rebecca Jones. Charlie Kirk weaponizes culture wars to indoctrinate young people into far-right politics, promoting harmful and even deadly conspiracy theories, endangering marginalized communities, and undermining democracy, all whilst profiting from the chaos. Save your sympathies for the innocent bystanders caught in the crossfire of MAGA's violent political messaging machine. Okay. I'm sorry, go ahead.
She's a joke. First off, Craig, you know, but again, political messaging machine. I think that's both parties, right? It's a political messaging machine, but violence, never with the violence. And to say that we're the ones indoctrinating, I think Charlie Kirk was just giving them facts and letting them make their own decisions.
Yes, he was. Here's another one. This is Dr.
That's the moment before he was killed.
Yes, this is the moment before he was killed. It says, it's shockingly poetic that a white man, not a black man or immigrant, shot Charlie Kirk in cold blood. Lord knows I detest him, a bloody, racist, anti-Muslim, Zionist bigot. But to shoot him because you don't like his views is absolutely diabolical. I'm genuinely shocked. But I'm like, why do you have to talk about the fact that he was shot by a white man instead of a black man?
And we don't know that yet either. That was when the report was out that they'd made an arrest. They did make an arrest, but it was not of the shooter.
Right. Here's another one. I got some dude named Leo. A moment of silence for Charlie Kirk. Now it's a bell, and it's actually a GIF, and the bell or video, and the bell is ringing. I'm like, wow, okay. Here's one last one. Charlie Kirk said that gun deaths, unfortunately, are worth it to keep the Second Amendment. And then he has a post of a thing from Newsweek where Charlie Kirk says gun deaths, unfortunately, are worth it to keep the Second Amendment. but there was another person who posted a video of him basically saying that, yes, there's going to be gun deaths as long as people have the right to keep and bear arms, because guess what? Liberty has consequences. Rights are not easy, right? Rights are dangerous. But here's the thing. Far more people, if we did not have a right to keep and bear arms, far more people would be killed at the hands of either a tyrannical government and or criminals who would still have possession of firearms.
Right. And what Charlie was referring to there when he said gun deaths from the Second Amendment, he was referring to justifiable homicides in defense.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, some of these people, and it's funny. I got into an argument with one person because I literally was like, and they literally don't see the rhetoric on their side. They don't see how it has added. There's no correlation with them. They don't relate the fact that, okay, you called him all of these things, you accused him of all of these things, and then someone on your side shot him. And I'm pretty confident it was someone on the left who shot Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, we'll wait for the results to come out, but if you go with the statistics, you got a pretty good idea.
Yeah, I'm just also kind of curious how this guy in a crowd that size got away. But I guess once we know what caliber was, because I don't know if we don't know if he was close up, we don't know if he was far away.
Yeah, I've heard both, and I'm not going to make any assumptions or any theories at all at this point.
Yeah. But how do you not look at this and say, yeah, I mean, if nothing else, there is a pattern where you hear the rhetoric, the violence happens, and then you hear the rhetoric again, and the violence happens. Going back to Mr. King's question, what do you think? Do you think there's a chance that this could have evolved into civil war, or at the very least, retaliatory violence?
I mean, listen, there's bound to be unstable people out there that are going to take actions into their own hands. Again, I think the best thing that's going to come out of this is you're going to see the White House and the DOJ come down with a stark set of rules, enforceable rules on mental health, and stop separating. Right now, mental health, you can't get to mental health in the firearms industry world. If you're a dealer, you have to self-rely upon the person saying they've never had mental health issues. Okay. Mm-hmm. They're going to fix that. They're going to correct that problem so we can finally keep these firearms out of those with mental health. And that's whatever it is. It doesn't matter if it's if you're suffering from depression or you've got some other psychosis out there that you should not be permitted to have a firearm.
Exactly. It's it is the thing I will say is this, and this is incumbent upon, I think, all of us to make sure that we're talking about is, look, the appropriate response to this is not more violence. That is not the appropriate response. The appropriate response is find this dude and then let the justice system inflict violence upon him.
And listen, let's be clear too. The left hopes you choose violence.
Yes.
They've been pushing for violence since day one of Donald Trump. Okay.
Yes.
Been pushing towards it since day one. And now they've got some violence, and now they stand back and say, oh, we didn't mean violence. They're hoping you continue, and now you continue this on your own without them. This is what they're hoping for, so that the law would have to come down. Oh, it's martial law. We're going to take guns from everybody. That's their goal. Remember, their goal has always been to take all guns, not just, this class and this class and this class. They want to get where all guns are gone. That's what they want, and this is their push for it.
Well, exactly. And their goal, the reason why they want to do that is because they want to control all of us. They want to tear down society. They want to undermine all of our institutions, the family, the church, the government. They want to tear down our criminal justice system. Because once again, as Marxists, as neo-Marxists, they believe that once everything is torn down, once our nation is in ashes, out of the ashes will rise like a phoenix some new thing.
Yeah, it's horrible. Though that one quote you put up about, the left, the right, and Charlie Kirk was always putting out conspiracy theories. Craig, I don't think we have any conspiracy theories anymore. I think they've all proven true, haven't they?
They pretty much have all proven true. I mean,
there's conspiracy theories. I mean, folks, how many? Listen, you had guns and you still wore a mask for a couple of years, and you still stayed home. All right, because you bought the lies. All right.
Well, the one that has not come true yet is Epstein's list.
Right, yeah, and we get all off into that. We know one thing true though, that Epstein didn't kill himself. Yeah.
There you go. I don't know, man. Folks, normally about this time of the program we would do a parting shots, but I just, the idea of doing a funny video or memes heading out of this on this day in particular just didn't seem right. I guess if I were to give a parting shot for myself, it's going to be this. We have to come to a point where we can engage in political discourse without the violent rhetoric, right? I realize that most of the people on the right and the left, they don't believe in political violence. I do believe that there are many on the left who engage in the sort of rhetoric that feeds into that violence, and they don't acknowledge that it does. And I think we really need to, we as leaders, as thought leaders, we need to do a better job of engaging in public debate and discourse and disagreement in a constructive manner that doesn't promote hatred and violence, where the ideas and the policies rule the day as opposed to the personal attacks. And I think if we as opinion leaders do a better job of engaging in that, I think that then the wackos on the right and the left, mostly on the left, but we don't give them fuel for their violent fire.
Can we get there? Can we get there though? Right? We spent how many years being told that we were Nazis and racists? Then we have a nation vote overwhelming for the guy who they said was the Nazi and the racist. And every time you bring a fact to the left, their response is, F you, you're a Nazi.
Well, you know what, man? You're right. It may be very difficult for us to get there, but if we're going to get there, this is an opportunity to do that. And part of it is owning our stuff, our stuff. And ultimately, because this was a situation where you're talking about a leader, an icon for the right, he should be, in my opinion, an icon for America. But because he's an icon, because he's a personality and a person of the right, it's really incumbent upon the left to really think about the role that their rhetoric played in the shooting taking place.
Yeah, I mean, it's 100% to blame. That's all there is to it.
Yeah. All right, folks. Well, that's about it before we head out today. But before we go, we're going to do one more quick shout out to our sponsors.
Yeah, let's say our friends at Hitman Industries, hitmanindustries.net. Make sure you join them if you need any AR accessories or barrels. California Republican Assembly, fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. If you want the best tactical concealed holster on the market, visit our friends over at Hog Holsters. That's HAWG holsters.com. Use discount code The Rundown, get a nice discount. And for tactical gear, field gear, web gear, security, home survival gear, whatever it may be, get your group together, get your agency together, place an order at uscombatgear.com, where you can get everything except the gun.
All right, folks. Once again, that's going to be it for today. We're going to be back tomorrow where we'll talk a little bit more about some of the we'll talk about the stories that we had lined up originally for today, as well as maybe add one or two more. But we very much appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate you liking, sharing the program. Thanks for tuning in, Mr. King, Bob King. Let us know in the comment section, Bob, where you're watching us from. We'd love to give you and your community a bit of a shout out. And with that, we're going to go ahead and call it a day. We will be back mañana. Till then, y'all have fun. Stay safe. See you then.